This video is sponsored by my friend Thomas Brush and his course Full-Time Game Dev. Get a massive 40% course discount using the link in the description. I finished playing the top 100 games from the third Blackthornprod game jam. Developers had to make a game in 1 week based on the theme less is more, and wow, they delivered. I'm about to show my 17 personal favorites, in no particular order. These are creations that prove that simplicity can shine very bright, and when beautiful minimalism isn't the core of the experience, we have really interesting head-scratching puzzlers, brutal and juicy action games, and a wealth of interesting designs where less of something is more of another. You're sure to be inspired, as I was. The links to play all these games for free is in the description. Paigochellis by Ben Liga and Noé Reginald. This is a poetic side-scroller. Its simplicity makes it all the more charming. You can't lose, and you'll finish it in a couple minutes. But the short duration does nothing to remove the magic of the experience. Quite the contrary, it enhances the adventure. It's fleeting and enchanting. I think this illustrates very well my firm belief that game length isn't all that important. I played dozens of game jam games which lasted 5 minutes, and I can say those 5 minutes were well spent, enjoyable and inspiring. When the world is well crafted and great care is spent on every minute of the experience, then that's gold. The music is also wonderful here, and hitting an obstacle adds a few high piano notes, adapting the soundtrack in a very nice way. One little thing I would change is the main menu, which feels a bit cluttered as opposed to the rest of the game. Perhaps all this could be added to some sub-menu, or maybe the butterfly could float around and discover all this bit by bit. The links to social media spread wide apart to stay consistent with that beautiful feeling of space and simplicity found in the rest of the game. Little Soul by Green Box Games. This is my favourite top-down shooter from the jam. It stands apart with its simplistic, chunky art style and awesome game feel. In this adventure, the less health you have, the more powerful your attack and the faster you move. You can heal at any time, but you can't move while doing so. Having one stat influence all these different variables makes for some great dual-purpose design and awesome combat. I would need to balance offensive and defensive, blasting powerful beams and then frantically find cover to heal up. Par for the Dungeon by Josh Kapp. There were many games with golf-like mechanics for this game jam. This is one of my favorites, a stripped-down take on a dungeon crawler. Great physics, cute 3D graphics, and neat sound effects. The more moves you make to defeat all monsters and reach the end goal, the less gold you'll have to spend in the shop, and the worse your score will be. Again, just soak in this world. It's simple, and yet that simplicity takes a lot of work or perhaps discipline to achieve. Often we try and add things to fix or better our game, when perhaps removing stuff is the real solution. Everything here supports the core gameplay. There is no fluff, less clutter, more focus on what matters. And on the same topic, let me introduce you to A Brief History of Golf by Zane and Jay. This is one of the few times I've laughed out loud playing a game. Mechanically, it's simple, satisfying and easy to pick up and play. You throw a golf ball around a 2D side-scrolling map and try and reach the end goal. Where it shines brightest is with the hilarious narration.
It was originally thought that the game was invented in 1904 when Andrew Golfspittle, a factory worker from Sheffield, struck a co-worker in the back of the head with an iron bar. The co-worker's glass eye shot from its socket and down the drain in a nearby sink.
The contrast between what the narrator is saying and how he's saying it just had me doubled over. Seriously, have a go and try keeping a straight face. Now let's explore some puzzle games. There were plenty, each unique and satisfying to complete. Candle Guy by Daniek. Every time you move your chunky candle character, a dollop of wax is left behind, creating a pesky obstacle. This is a piece of cake in the first level where you need to go down a linear path, but becomes wonderfully tricky in more open rooms. You'll need to press every green button to open the door and proceed to the next level, stopping on these chubby candles to refuel, because that's right, if you run out of wax, it's game over. Same if you're surrounded by wax. Slimestone Quarry by Paigochellis also had me stumped on a few occasions. You combine and split slimes apart, the goal being to crash through a hole. Having more or less slimes in game opens up different opportunities to interact with the world. A larger ball of goo can push blocks, while smaller slimes can slide through small gaps. Eventually you'll need to combine small slimes to create one big Mamalupa and smash through the exit. But the journey will be fraught with splitting and reassembling, avoiding burning light and removing green candy-like crystals. Loved it. Anyone who has enjoyed the award-winning puzzler Baba Is You will find much to love in Overflow. You must water plants thanks to this big well. Easy peasy at first, but the puzzles quickly ramp up in challenge since the well slowly fills up on its own, and if you don't come back in time to fill up your watering can, the well will overflow, resulting in a game over. What's more, walking on tiles with your can filled with water will leave plant-like obstacles behind, blocking you. Suffice to say, a lot of planning ahead is required. How can you water every plant while not getting stuck in a corner and keeping the well from overflowing? Like all great puzzlers, the solution is quick to execute once found, but the journey can take a lot of time and brainstorming, and it's made all the more impressive knowing it was made in a week. Unsaturated by Demizo. A nice example of very simple graphics with a lot of charm. Many games during this jam crushed the myth that you need to be an expert artist to make compelling, eye-catching worlds. Many used nothing but squares, circles, and triangles, and still nailed it. I'm thinking of Minima, Dot Bounce, Drag Across, Small and Stout. To go back to Unsaturated, the goal is to remove all color from the world. Pushing a yellow block onto a blue platform will make both disappear. One color touching another is all it takes for them to vanish. This gets pleasantly challenging when the player himself is blue or yellow and so must watch his step or risk being snuffed out. The Costa by Neowave. Here you'll explore tiny voxel islands, trying to get both your characters to the flag. Like Slimestone Quarry, controlling a small or bigger character impacts what can be done. Pushing large blocks requires more brawn, whereas creeping through tiny tunnels requires you to use this little fella. It's a relaxing game to get immersed in. There's something very refreshing about it, and like many games shown here, playing it just makes me want to create games. Crow Story by Vincent Prom. We continue exploring simplicity and beauty with this 3D platformer gem. You can fly, double jump, and dash. The level design is great, and soaring through the sky with that peaceful, enchanting soundtrack in the background was just really something. Like many amazing minimalist adventures such as Limbo, Journey, and Fez, there's no need for words or lengthy explanations here. There's not even any UI. The game speaks for itself in a universal language. And now something very different. Jumper by Hegworks and Empound. At first all you do is move left and right, and you automatically jump when the bar is full. After a few levels you get a second jump bar. Either can be paused so you can time your jumps. Do you want one big jump? If that's the case, you'll need to align the bars. But if you would rather jump once, wait a little and then jump again, then it's best to create some distance between when the bars reach their max. This game asks you whether more jumps is better. The answer is no. With one jump it was an easy peasy platformer, with 4 it turns into a brutal puzzler where figuring out what the best timing for each jump should be is a huge part of the challenge. Really interesting creation. Neowave by Elite One. You're a stylish ninja. Hack and slash, great platforming, and a cool take on the theme less is more. You basically have 2 attacks, one melee, another ranged. Using one will weaken it, but strengthen the other. This is a fun and elegant way of making sure you'll vary your moves and not stay stuck using the same old strategies. You're forced to get up close and personal, but also encouraged to retreat and shoot lightning bolts. What's more, the less health you have, the more damage you deal, so expert players who love a good risk can purposefully take damage and then blast through their enemies. Level 0 by Tarkolt. Rarely do you level down in a video game, but that's exactly what you do here. After crushing the Lord of Demons as a level 100 hero, you're forced to choose downgrades, and this several more times on your journey to level 0. You'll be fighting Raththeus over and over again, weaker every time. So what was once a breeze becomes a true challenge. Less levels, more downgrades, and harder battle. Rising Smoke by Slim Burger. This was my I'll just play once more game of the jam. It's such a fun arcadey experience. Here, the less enemies there are, the harder the game gets, since to stay alive, you need to dash kill a flaming demon, which keeps you in the sky and away from the deadly lava down below. Every time you dash, you'll weaken the move, traversing less distance. It's only reset when you hit an enemy, so precision, timing, and reflexes are key. Again, another great example of dual-purpose design, where one mechanic or character has multiple purposes. Enemies increase your score and act as platforms to dash between and stay in the air. The dash lets you move and destroy enemies. It's simple design, easy to understand, and has a good amount of depth and mastery. It's also extremely juicy and has a great art style. The Downside by Mr. Bundles. Again, very simple visuals, but they feel great. They're responsive and tingle with life thanks to little animations and sounds. This is a fine puzzle platformer where clicking on a square changes gravity and swaps empty space for full space and full space for empty space. This makes for a ton of puzzle possibilities, and there's even more when the player can add or remove blocks from the world. It can be very challenging to wrap your head around some of these levels. Ocean Trash by Nicholas and Maximilian. It's a beautiful 3D creation. Like quite a few games from the jam, it touches on the theme of less pollution, more well-being for the planet. Your job is to collect trash and burn it. This is made challenging and fun thanks to quirky controls, a monstrous squid who tries to sink your ship if you stay static for too long, needing to refuel, and a pressure-inducing timer. And now for my personal favourite game off the jam. The Twisted Factory, made by me. Just kidding. I liked almost every game I played in some unique way. Either the art was beautiful, the soundtrack stirring, or the mechanics engaging and deep. Some went for minimalist pieces of art, others made impressive little card games, juicy shooters, or stealthy adventures. Now I want to wrap up this video by sharing a game jam masterpiece, Blackbird by Owen and Ellen. This is a small adventure set in a world that is at times horrific and spooky, and others relaxing, peaceful, and heartwarming. Everything it does well. It's extremely short, but again, that makes it all the more worthwhile and enjoyable. The player character is wonderfully polished. The way it turns to face a new direction, there's a simple one sprite animation, and that makes all the difference. Or look at how the little blackbird squishes and emits a cute noise when running through a narrow passage. The character feels vulnerable and delicate, and you want to protect it all the more from these giant, cruel-looking creatures. It is a platformer, pure and simple, but the controls, wordless story, small pieces of music, buttery smooth controls, and inspiring ending make it a mini masterpiece. I really urge you to play it to get what I mean. Alright, thanks for watching this video. I hope you'll leave feeling inspired and eager to make more worlds. keeping in mind that a square player can be epic, a 3-minute long game impactful, and one mechanic juiced out to serve multiple purposes fascinating. As always, I love how every developer interpreted the theme in a different way and ended up with their own unique creation. This video is sponsored by indie developer and YouTuber Thomas Brush. He's been making indie games for pretty much every platform for the last decade, including his latest game, Neversong, on Nintendo Switch and Steam. Thomas had to work extremely hard, but now makes 6 figures a year to support his family and studio. He let me try out his latest project, a comprehensive online platform called Full-Time Game Dev, with over 800 students. And there's just so much to learn here. Not only will you learn how to actually make a game from scratch, but you're also going to learn how to make money with your game. You'll learn about publishers, crowdfunding, building a personal brand, marketing, bundles, and a strategic method to securing a slot on the Steam front page. There's a massive 40% discount for the first 300 students that use the link in the description, and the coupon code NOAH. Last time we ran a sale like this, the codes were eaten up within the first couple hours. Click below if you're interested and begin your indie game dev journey. Thanks for watching. Cheers.